All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday to everyone out there. We got July 17th, a small-ish MLB slate to jump into today. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every game. I'm going to give you my lean or leans on the games as we talk about them, but all my final plays will be in the pinned comment, and I update that throughout the day, so keep an eye on the pinned comment. Yesterday, we go 1 and 2. You know, we'll drop a womp womp. We deserve the womp womp. We'll drop it. So 1 and 2 night, guys. Yeah, don't love to see that. Hopefully we bounce back today, guys. And if you do want to give me your favorite plays in the comments for a chance to be featured in tomorrow's video, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day. I'll be jumping on board with one person's play that used that comment and use that hashtag in their comment. I'll be jumping on board with one person's play and giving you a shout out, win or loss, in tomorrow's video. So give me your absolute banger of a lock in the comments and use that hashtag ride of the day. And before we get into the slate, I do want to ask you guys, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, and go check out Daily Grind Fantasy. If you have not checked it out yet, you guys are seriously missing out. I've talked about it in a few videos as of late. What it does is they actually created an optimizer that you can look at prize picks lines, sleeper lines, jock market, thrive fantasy, underdog, all of the popular DFS pick'em apps right now, and you compare those lines. So we'll use prize picks for an example, those lines with sportsbooks lines, and also check out sportsbooks average odds here, so you can get a percent to hit calculator here. They have an odds to hit, percent odds to hit. So Jesus Luzardo here, based on how many sportsbooks are juicing the under, for example, DraftKings minus 170 here, you could see that obviously this is a valuable play over on prize picks, because prize picks does not use the odds system. No matter how many plays you put in there, they obviously have their fixed payout structure. So make sure to check out Daily Grind Fantasy, a very, very cool tool, guys. You can also identify any discrepancies between the prize picks lines as well as sportsbooks lines. Sometimes you'll see some lines where Jesus Luzardo may have a 7 line on prize picks, but the sportsbooks have 6.5. It means there's value over on prize picks. So make sure to check it out, guys. I use this thing every single day. You can get a 7-day free trial with the link in the description as well as the pinned comment. Make sure to go check out Daily Grind Fantasy and that optimizer. It is an amazing, amazing tool. First game on today's slate we're looking at is going to be the Baltimore Orioles hosting the Dodgers here. Orioles coming off of a nice series sweep against Miami. The Dodgers looked like they were going to do the same, but lose 2-1 yesterday to the Mets here. Baltimore slightly favored here at home, which is interesting, but it's pretty much a pick'em game between the two. Minus 108 across the board for both here, but the Baltimore does get the favorite in terms of the run line. But this game, we're not really looking at run line. I do like the Dodgers on the money line in this one. Yes, they're coming off of the loss, but I do think that they are a better team than Baltimore, and they were starting to cook with some fire too. Now, Baltimore has won 8 straight games. I don't want to take away from them necessarily, but this Dodgers team looks like they're starting to turn into the powerhouse that they could and should be. So I'm going to lean towards the Dodgers here. They have Sheehan on the mound, who I don't love all that much, but I'll take him over Grayson Rodriguez, who the Baltimore Orioles are trotting out today. So I lean towards the Dodgers in this one on the money line. And then in terms of a total, I think this is going to be one where people look at the pitchers, Emmett Sheehan and Grayson Rodriguez, and everyone's like, oh, these two offenses can score a decent amount of runs, and they don't have their best pitchers on the mound. Let's hammer the over. I think the public's going to be all over the over today, so I'm kind of going to fade that. I'm either going to stick away from this or take a peek at the under. Yes, these are two of the, not premier pitchers, I guess you could say, on these two teams. They definitely have better pitchers on the roster, but still, I think that they're going to be able to go out there and somewhat get the job done. So again, I might fade the over or look at the under. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we end up rolling with, but I think it's going to be one where the public's all over the over, which makes me hesitate just a second step. All right, Pittsburgh taking on Cleveland here. Pittsburgh coming off of getting swept by the Giants, and the Cleveland Guardians coming off of getting swept by the Texas Rangers here. The Cleveland Guardians have lost 4 straight, including one at the tail end of that Kansas City series before the All-Star break. They have Curry on the mound today. He's got a 3.0 ERA with a 3-0 record and a 1.16 whip, going up against Priester for the Pirates, who I'll admittedly don't know much about, but I do look at Cleveland in this spot. I think they're the better team, and you're getting decent odds over on DraftKings right now at minus 135, so I like Cleveland. And then when taking a peek at this total, 9.5 runs, neither one of these teams have really been consistently scoring runs as of late, so I'm going to take a peek at that under, but I don't really trust the pitching on the mound, so that could be the thing that keeps us from being a final play. Now, the Guardians do have a chance to be final play. I really like this spot for them, but in terms of that under, it's the pitching, they could blow up, but also, both these teams, yes, they score, I don't know, 1 to 2 runs as a floor per game, right? But they'll have that double-digit outburst out of nowhere, and I don't want that to be today. So if I had to rank these leans, I'd lean Cleveland, and then I also consider the under, but the under probably doesn't become a final play. And by the way, I know the graphic is blank, but the total is 9.5, and Pittsburgh's plus 115 on the money line, and like I said, Cleveland's minus 135 on the money line for that game. So now moving on, we got the Reds taking on the Giants. The Giants, like I just said, swept Pittsburgh here. They've actually won 5 straight games. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, playing decent baseball here, but the competition hasn't really been there. I'll give them credit for their win against Seattle. Still lost that series, but they go and take 2 of 3 against Colorado. They sweep Pittsburgh. I don't want to get all high and mighty about them. Now Cincinnati, I don't know what's going on with them. This is probably their last ditch effort to be like a real team type of thing. Just because, they've lost a bunch to Milwaukee. They've lost 4 straight, 5 of their last 6 games here. They have decent odds today at plus 135. I almost feel like it could be a trap if I'm being completely honest. Total sitting at 10 runs here. But yes, I'm going to go one last ditch lean towards Cincinnati. Now, if you realize this, it's been 2 or 3 days now where I'm like, hey, this is the last chance I'm giving Cincinnati. I don't know what's going on with that, all right? I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe it's time to start fading me because the Cincinnati team, became sort of America's or baseball's sweetheart with all the young guys and, Ellie De La Cruz and a bunch of other guys on the team that are just these young sort of flash-in-the-pan studs that are making things exciting and whatnot. And then they go on a losing streak, but I'm almost willing to forgive and forget just because they're playing a team that had their number. Like Milwaukee just has their number. So does San Francisco? We're kind of yet to see here. So I am going to go ahead and lean towards Cincinnati for plus 135. I think there's just the littlest amount of value there and an edge there just at those odds. So I'm going to trust them. Williamson on the mound today, and then Logan Webb on the mound for San Francisco here. I will say neither one of these teams bat lefties or righties. Obviously, Williamson being a lefty and then Webb being a righty. Neither one of these teams bat either kind of exceptionally well or anything noticeably. So though Logan Webb is the better pitcher here, I don't know if there's going to be that big of a pitching discrepancy. We shall see, but I'm hoping Cincinnati's offense kind of gets back to clicking because, I like when their team's good, and if they're just going to kind of turn back into what they were before they got hot, it's gonna stink. But nonetheless, giving them one last chance here, and I mean it this time, one last chance in terms of believing that they were the team that they were before the break. One last chance. I'm going with the Reds plus 135 in terms of the total 10 runs here. So San Francisco put up 8 runs in yesterday's game. I think in game 1 of their Pittsburgh series, they put up 5 or 6 runs. Cincinnati's offense has not looked good. They've scored 0 runs, 0 runs, 0 runs, and 3 runs in their last 4 games here. But again, I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a bounce back, so I'm looking at the over here ever so slightly, 10. Neither one of these teams have totally been crushing this. Even when I was saying, San Francisco was putting up some decent runs in that Pittsburgh series, Pittsburgh wasn't. So neither one of these teams really hitting this over as of late, but maybe things will be a little bit different today as I take a peek slightly at that over 10 runs as a total. All right, guys, I'm all about betting on sports analytically and smarter and just having all of the best tools at your disposal. Well, Outlier is definitely ranked amongst the top of those tools. We talked about Daily Grind Fantasy. I love that tool for the Prize Picks of the world, the Pick'em apps. But just in terms of straight out individual sports betting, Outlier is my go-to research tool. You can get a 7-day free trial with the link in my description as well as the pinned comment here, guys. And this thing really is just an amazing app. It has every single player prop offered on all of these 4 major sportsbooks here: FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, and BetMGM. You can go through, check them all out. They also have game picks, which we'll talk about in just a second. But yeah, you can go through and look at this. Okay, Lars Nootbaar over 0.5 bases. He's hit it in 100% of his last 10 games, 80 of his last 20 here, 65% on the season, 5 straight games. You can click in and start to investigate. All right, we like this pick, right? We're looking around head to head. He's been cashing, yada, yada, yada. You can over here and see how he faces left-handed pitchers. Not as well as he does righties, obviously, against Jesus Luzardo. He's 0-2 since 2018. But say we did like this pick, right? You can go ahead and look at these sportsbook and say, okay, which one has the best odds? Caesars? Okay, we can add it right there. DraftKings is the easiest because I know that has one-click link here. But we can click DraftKings, say you like that sportsbook, open in browser, or we could scan it right from our phone with no hands. It's going to go and find that pick, put it in our bet slip, and you could go ahead and throw $1 million on it if you were to be logged in right now. So it makes it very, very simple to not only research and find your best plays, but also place your plays too with a couple clicks of a button. Like I said, you can check out game picks as well, so you can kind of see where things are. Like, for example, I bet this Dodgers just as we thought. This Dodgers over under here. Remember I said the public's going to be all over it? Yeah, 66% of the bets are on the over here, but look at the money. The money is looking like the under, so we are aligned with the money, which I do like to see there. But nonetheless, guys, I use Outlier pretty much on, for every single player prop that we throw out there. We're using Outlier to get into the nitty gritty of I wouldn't go anywhere without it or make any final plays without it. Make sure to check it out, guys. Use that link in the description or the pinned comment for a 7-day free trial. All right, St. Louis taking on Miami here. Miami gets swept by the Orioles, and St. Louis coming off of 2 of 3 against Washington. That game was delayed yesterday. They end up still taking the win 8-4. We were on the wrong side of that, but nonetheless, we had a big flyer on the Nationals at plus 160. So, that was like, I hope it hits, has a chance to hit. If it doesn't, no kidding, we're taking a huge underdog. But nonetheless, we got Miles Mikolas on the mound for St. Louis today. 4.12 ERA with a 5-5 record and a 1.27 whip. And then we got Jesus Luzardo on the mound for Miami. 3.29 ERA, 8-5 record with a 1.13 whip. And I am going to be looking at Miami in this one for even odds over on FanDuel. I like the value, and I like that they have the better pitcher on the mound. And they face righties pretty well, averaging 7 hits per 9 against righties here, almost 5 runs per 9 as well, batting just about 250. I hope that they go out there and do that against Mikolas today, because I like those odds at even odds. And Miami's waiting for a win, right? St. Louis is coming off of a winning series against Washington, but the Orioles went out there and just made their way with Miami. They kept it close, but nonetheless weren't able to come out on top of any of those games, right? So I think Miami's going to come out a little geared up here. And then in terms of the total 8.5 runs, I'm going to lean towards the over, just because these teams have been trending in that direction. Both of them have covered that in 3 of their last 4 games, the over 8.5. So I like the over there as well. But my main lean in this game is going to be Miami for that plus money. All right, the Cubs taking on the Nationals, and I'm looking at the Cubs for sure in this one. After yesterday's performance, I just can't really trust the Nationals here. And the Cubs, you're only getting minus 138, which I think this could easily be in the minus 150s if you ask me. Drew Smyly's on the mound for them. He's got a 1.3 whip with a 4.3 ERA on a 7-6 record this year, going up against Mackenzie Gore, who is coming off of a good start against Cincinnati, in which he didn't allow any runs, but I believe he only pitched like 2 innings if my memory serves me correct. So I think that was like if I'm remembering correctly, like that they had a rain delay in the 2nd inning and they took him out, something like that, right? But nonetheless, won a couple innings of no runs, which hasn't really even been like him as of late, so maybe he's feeling it, but I don't want to put too much weight into that, right? I like the Cubs here, but Mackenzie Gore anyways, 4-7 record with a 1.5 whip with a 4.42 ERA. You guys can fact check me, I'll probably look at it after the video, but I'm pretty sure his last start, yes, he only allowed 0 runs, but I think he pitched like 2 innings, and it was that game that was like rain delayed, and they came back a couple hours later with a new pitcher, but I could be wrong. But nonetheless, I still think the Cubs are the team here. Not necessarily like they're trending in the right direction. They've literally been win-loss, 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 but they lost last game yesterday against the Red Sox, so they're due for a win, whereas the Nationals are just kind of in a little spiral here. They did kind of, look like they had something together. They took 2 of 3 against Texas heading into the All-Star break, and then they won their exit game from the All-Star break against St. Louis in Game 1. And then they just look like the Nationals in the last couple of games. So hopefully they're nationaling it up right now today, and then we can capitalize on this Cubs spot. In terms of the total 8 runs, we've actually seen a decent amount of runs being scored for both teams as of late, whether, they're scoring the runs or they're just in high-scoring games. So I know that, I like Drew Smyly, but that whip is right around that 1.5 there, 1.5. So I think there could be a decent amount of runners on base today for both teams. Give me the over 8 runs in this one. I know it's not on the graphic, but we do have an updated total via Caesars right now. 8 runs is the total. Texas taking on Tampa Bay. This is going to be a good series. Right now you have Texas on the money line at home at plus 113, and Tampa Bay minus 118 over on FanDuel as of right now. Total sitting at 8.5 runs. Dane Dunning on the mound for the Texas Rangers, and McClanahan on the mound for the Rays. Don't really need no introduction for either one of those pitchers, but you know what? I'm going to lean towards Texas because McClanahan is a lefty hitter. That's going to be the only reason. Yes, he's amazing. Yes, the Tampa Bay Rays could go out there and win this game. So if you're on the Rays and you like the odds for the Rays, I don't mean to talk you off of it, but Texas averaging almost 7 runs per 9 against lefties, batting almost 300 against them as well, with a near 400 on base percentage. So I just love this Texas team for plus money today. But again, I don't want to be like, this is Texas all day long. I love the spot. I love what I'm seeing. I love the metrics for plus money and for a team that's coming off a nice sweep against Cleveland last series, right? Like, I love that spot. This Tampa Bay team is still I don't want to say the best because they went on that absolute slide before the All-Star break, but at least one of the top teams, if not the top team in the league, especially with McClanahan going out there. So if you're on Tampa Bay, I'm not trying to talk you off of it. I just like Texas today, okay? This is one where, if Tampa Bay wins there, I'm going to go, okay, I like the value in Texas. I'd bet it again type of thing, but it makes sense. These are two really good teams. These are two Titans. If Tampa Bay, who should be one of the best offenses here, going up against Texas, who right now is scoring 1 million runs, is pretty much the best offense in baseball, right? So I think it's going to be a really good series and a good game, but I'm going to take the plus money dogs here at home, Texas, and I'm backing Dane Dunning, the righty, against Shane McClanahan because Shane McClanahan is a lefty and Texas scores a bunch of runs against lefties. In terms of the total 8.5, I know I'm saying Texas scores a bunch of runs against them, but I still do trust the pitching to some degree, so I don't think I end up rolling with the over here, but I am going to lean towards the over just because I think that over kind of, the under. Back it up. I'm going to lean towards the under here just because I do think that, these are two good pitchers, but I don't think I roll and pull the trigger with the under because it kind of goes against my idea of I want Texas to get up to a decent lead and a big lead. That's tough to do when you're betting an under. So my main lean here is going to be Texas on the money line for plus money, but if you had a second ranked lean here and I put them in a vacuum and didn't know that I was leaning towards Texas money line, if that makes sense, am I making any sense here? I would take the under in this game, but I don't think I end up pulling the trigger on that because I want and think that Texas can get out to a decent lead early in this game against McClanahan. All right, Kansas City taking on Detroit. Instant classic. Do we have to cover this game? Do we have to? This is a tough one, guys. I guess I just take Kansas City for plus 120. I don't think this becomes a final play. I also like the under 9.5. Though, yes, we have two bad pitchers on the mound, I guess. I don't think that either of these offenses are really hot. So, you can tell in my voice how much I love this series with Kansas City taking on Detroit. But what I am excited about to talk about right now is go ahead and comment 17 if you're still watching at the 17-minute mark. We got a couple guppies yesterday asking, why is everyone commenting 16? And I love that. It reminds me like the old man yelling at the clouds. Like someone's mad because there's a bunch of numbers in the comments and it's like system overload. But if you're still watching, guys, go ahead and drop 17 in the comments. And I apologize if it's a low energy video today. It's super early right now getting this video out when schedule allows, but nonetheless, guys, drop 17 in the comments if you're still watching. I appreciate it if you are. And I love getting the guppies that are like, should we call them that, the people that don't know what the numbers are and ask, what's this about, comma guppy. I don't know why that came to my mind, but anyways, go ahead, drop 17 in the comments if you are still watching. I thank you guys so much for being an absolute real one. Seriously, go ahead, drop 17, and I thank you guys so much. All right, Angels taking on the Yankees here. Angels 2-8 in their last 10 here. And of course, one of those was when we were big on the Astros. The Yankees not playing that well either, though. They lost 2 of 3 against Colorado, which is like, what are you doing there? Canning's on the mound for the Angels today. He's got a 4.6 ERA, a 6-4 record with a 1.2 whip. Luis Severino, 7.4 with a 1-4 record and a 1.8 whip. He really has not found his stride yet. I am going to look at the Angels here because they are the home team. I know the Yankees are out west. It's not going to matter all that much, but nonetheless, I like the Angels at home, minus 120 in this one. And then in terms of a total, 9 runs. Now, in terms of what we've seen recently for the Yankees, we saw a 7-2 game, a 6-3 game, and an 8-7 game. And in the Angels, we saw a 5-10, 5-7, 13-12, 9-8. I don't think there's any sort of legitimate reason to be leaning towards an under. So though I don't love the over, and I'll be completely honest, I don't love the over, I do still think this is a decent over spot. But I don't know if that becomes a final play. I really don't have the confidence behind this pick, but I can't really consider the under just based on the recent trends. And then you look at the pitchers pitching today, Canning and Severino. Yeah, they're good, but either one of these guys could go and blow up at any given moment, especially Severino, the way that he's been pitching, which he's a good pitcher. Hasn't really found it since he's been back from injury. So nonetheless, I lean towards the over, but my real lean in this game is going to be on the Angels. I think a lot of people may be on the Yankees because it's kind of really intriguing, and a lot of people might get irked to pull the trigger there because it is plus 108 plus money for the Yankees right now, which they are technically playing better than the Angels, but I think that this Angels team coming back home is a good spot for them, so I'm going to lean towards them. All right, Oakland taking on Boston. We don't know who is pitching for Boston yet, so we actually don't have any lines, but that's all right with me. Red Sox taking 2 of 3 against the Cubs. They've won 8 of their last 10 games, playing decent baseball here. They're beating good teams. They just swept Oakland as well, so this is probably going to be something that's a crazy line and crazy odds in favor of the Red Sox, so I'll lean them in terms of a money line play on some sort of a parlay if you want to throw it in there, but not much to be spent on this game in terms of time and research because, Oakland, Kansas City, usually I don't really focus on those because there's not much value on the better team. So I'm going to lean towards the Red Sox here, probably in some sort of parlay format, but nonetheless, we don't need to spend too much time on it. One that we can spend time on is this series here, Seattle taking on Minnesota. I think this one is going to be a good series. In fact, their last 10 games against one another, it is 5-5, so an even split here. Minnesota has won 6 of their last 10 games, coming off of a sweep. It's against Oakland, so I will, put the brakes on there, but they have won 6 of the last 10 games. Seattle as well has won 6 of their last 10 games, losing 2 of 3 against Detroit here. Sonny Gray on the mound for Minnesota. He's got a 2.89 ERA with a 4-3 record and a 1.27 whip. Going up against Logan Gilbert, who has a great whip, under 1 at 0.98, a 3.66 ERA, and a 7-5 record. I went back and forth on this one. But Minnesota for plus 114 over on FanDuel as an underdog. I can't really miss that opportunity. So these are 2 teams that I do think are going to grind it out. And this is going to be a very good series. I'm very excited for it, as it is, I believe, a 4-game series too. So that's good. But nonetheless, I do think that this is just a spot for the Twins to be able to kind of get game 1 of this one. We don't know who's going to be pitching. I don't think they've named starters for the next games either for this series. So, doesn't really matter. But in this game, I think this is a good spot for Minnesota. I like them for plus money here. In terms of the total, I also think, though there's really good pitchers on the mound here, 7 runs seems a little bit low. So I'm going to lean towards the over 7 runs here. I don't know if that is my main play on this game. It's kind of close with the Twins here. I like both of these. So I don't really have like a priority lean and sort of like a secondary. But yeah, Twins money line. I think it's going to be a good series though. So if you're on Seattle, I don't really want to talk you totally off of that. You can fade my Twins pick all you want all day long. But yeah, Twins coming off a sweep, even though it is against Oakland. Maybe that gets them a little bit fired up heading into this game in which I'm playing Seattle as underdogs and some plus money on the table there. So I like that spot. And guys, that is all I have for you guys today. Again, if you made it to the end of the video, hopefully you don't mind. Sometimes in my brain, I'm like, this is like a low energy video. That's because it's early in the morning, like the sun's not even up yet type of thing. So I want to get these videos out when the schedule allows and make sure we do get videos out. So hope you guys do enjoy, and yeah, catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.